What is love? This is, I think, the 60th daily devotional I've done on this channel, and I've used the word love in 56 of them, unless the search function on my computer is broken, and it's actually more. I almost always sign off by telling you I love you and letting you know what my prayer for you, and for me really, is. But it's also a topic that comes up repeatedly in the context of discussing the Sermon on the Mount, the image of God, and other topics. It's a word we use so readily in our culture to describe our affections, fondness, and emotions. But when God calls us to love Him and to love our neighbor, it's more than just feelings. What does it really mean to love someone the way God calls us to love Him? I know that I go to the well of Genesis often, but I think the name should explain why. Genesis, beginnings, origins. Not just the beginning of us, but the beginnings of the story of humanity, struggle and triumph. And today, we're going to look again at a question that is posed in the story of Cain and Abel. Now, we talked about this story just a few weeks ago, but we looked primarily at the attitude of the heart of Cain, which led to Cain rejecting God's image in his brother. Today, I want to focus on the question, a rhetorical one, that Cain asks to God in Genesis chapter 4. God asks Cain, "Where is your brother?" And Cain first lies to God and says, "I do not know." But then he asks him a question, "Am I my brother's keeper?" This is a question that we are all faced with. Are we our brother's keeper or sister's keeper? Are we responsible for the well-being of other people? Or are we responsible only for our own well-being? The resounding answer of Scripture is yes. You and I are supposed to be the keepers of our brothers. We are called to have deep care and concern for the well-being of others. This is the very definition of the word love. In the verse Jesus quotes as the second of the greatest commands, the second half of Leviticus 19, verse 18, love your neighbor as yourself. Let me pose you the question, how do you love yourself? Within your ability to provide for yourself, you do. You make sure you have food and shelter. You make sure that you are clothed. You make sure that you are tended to when you are sick. Of course, you probably love yourself beyond just meeting basic needs. We love ourselves enough to go the extra mile. When we want coffee or some other hot beverage, if you don't like coffee, we'll oftentimes drive just a bit further to get to our favorite coffee shop rather than the one that's nearby. We love ourselves in essential ways, but we also love ourselves in ways that go beyond the essential, in ways that maybe aren't the most convenient, but bring a bit of joy or light to our days. Loving others is more than just meeting the needs that we see in their lives. Loving others is setting aside convenience for the good of others. It's going the extra mile, both figuratively and literally. This is the theme we'll be looking at in the coming weeks. Love. We're going to ask the question, how do we love ourselves? What does the Bible say about love? How does Jesus show love? How did the church, the early church, practice love? How are we called to express love today? I love you, and I pray today that you would seek the opportunity to love others as you love yourself.